付き添いの吉祥寺と申します。吉祥寺先生、お久しぶりです。有馬さん、今日アマの打ち上げ以来ですね。アクアさんもまたお会いできて嬉しいです。
光栄です。
先生、お久っす。
ああ、どうも。
分かっちゃいるけど、やや塩対応だな。そりゃお前、今日アマではめちゃくちゃしてたしな。原作者からしたら親の敵みたいなもんだろ。
Oshinoko is back, baby, with season number 2. It's been a while since Peak ended up ending, right? So here's the thing. During season 1, I definitely had my trials and tribulations. I had my reviewers' quos, meaning I didn't love every episode of Oshinoko, but I really do feel like Oshinoko did have... How many times can we say Oshinoko? I do think that this show had one of the best episode 1s of any anime. I would easily put this show, episode 1, in the top 10 episode 1s of all anime. Like, I think because it was so long and it covered so much, it just was one of the best. Now, I think what ended up following after is a mixed bag of really good and not so good at certain points, but it did enough for me to go like, yeah, I legit do want to watch a second season. Now, will I cover it all season long? That remains to be seen. Because here's the big thing is it's back, and some of the characters, like, I love Kana. Like, I think that she is my favorite character in the show, and I'm interested to see on how her and Aqua's relationship is going to end up progressing at all, if they end up becoming a thing or whatever ends up coming. I genuinely do want to see it. But here's the thing is this episode, by and large, was... Man, y'all gonna cook me. This episode was pretty boring. Now, I get it. Like, I think most folks coming into a season 2 are really, really into it. But here's what I'm gonna say. I think this episode did a lot of the talking for me, and some of the points I can pull out generically, not generically, it's a bad way to say it, but I can pull what I want to say out of this episode. Isn't that cool? So this episode focused on Aqua, Kana, and Akane moving on to a new project. For Aqua, he's moving there because he wants to get closer to a director, because he has this obsession with finding Ai's killer. That's what the whole show's premise is about, is this guy's psychopathic, psychotic obsession with finding out his mom's killer. And it's not even his true mom, but the mom in this world, right? And the person that he, I guess, had a thing for in his past life because he was her doctor. So he had, honestly, to me, it can only be described as a psychopathic obsession with finding this killer. Totally fine. So he joined this show. He joined a play, a 2.5D play, which, by the way, I haven't seen a play. The last time I saw a physical play and I sat down in the theater and watched a play was Broadway, and that was like 2008, 2007, something like that. So it's been a long time. So if this is how they're doing plays now, with like this conjoining of movie / actual play happening on stage, that's some effing cool stuff. But anyways, he takes part of this play, and his purpose is to get closer to his director so that he can get closer to finding out the killer, which he at this point, he thinks his killer is his biological dad. That's what everyone's pointing at, that he's trying to find out who his biological dad is. So he joins this play, and the play is with Kana and with Akane and a bunch of other folks. And during the play, as they're, the whole episode is just them rehearsing, and, it kind of showed us kind of like what the play will end up looking like, and it's kind of taking us on the journey to the play date happening. What we ended up getting was a description of how plays are adapted. And I think we all can take a lesson, especially those who are really big fans of source material like manga or light novels, is one of the things that they covered in this episode was that a lot of times to appeal to certain audiences and appeal to the masses and appeal to people who are going to end up not reading but are going to be watching something, you have to make concessions and you have to make adjustments with characters, with the story, with how, like in this specific example, Akane wasn't pleased with her character. Her character is very melancholic and very apprehensive towards killing and is very to herself and is kind of mysterious through the manga and through the light novel and everything else. But in the play, she's kind of psychopathic and a little bit enjoys killing. And like the screenwrite kind of said, hey, I'm cool being the bad guy. We're doing it this way so the audience gets her payoff faster because we don't have the time to read through 10 novels or whatever the case is. And I was like, man, the anime audience can really take a big lesson in that, with the understanding that anytime you're adapting something, especially from a book, you have to make those kinds of changes when you're putting a show and a product up front. Is in the a good example of that is a lot of people this past season for Mushoku Tensei. Maybe you're not the audience, maybe you didn't watch that show, but that's just one example of many. But a lot of people were like, the pacing is off. They're skipping too much. They're doing la la. But what ended up happening is you need to do that because you don't have 10 novels worth for them to get from point A to point B. You got to speed it up for your audiences that are actually going to be watching it. Sure, does that tickle the source material fans pickle a little bit? Yeah, but it's a known thing that's what's going to happen. But you're trying to capture the hearts of the 70% that didn't read the source, not necessarily catering to the 30. You're trying to make sure you honor it so that the 30 kind of feels like there's something in it for them too, and they get to see that payoff of a good adaptation of what they love. But you have to understand that the majority of your watchers are going to come from people who didn't read. So I was like, man, that's such a perfect way to describe this show, because there might be a lot of people, some or maybe a lot of people out there watching the show, and they might think to themselves like, man, they're just not nailing this adaptation. And that leads me into the episode to where I'm like, well, I really love that lesson within this show, but I have to be honest with my viewers, and I have to be honest with you. I paused this episode 3 times because I was like, this is just boring. Now, I think it'll get better, and this was a big setup episode, right? What they set up was the play. What they set up was Ruby visiting her mom's grave, talking about her success with the B group, whatever the group is called. I don't know. It's been 2 years since I watched the show. Whatever her group is called, B something, her mom's old group name. She was talking to her about her mom, and she was like, yeah, it's been 3 months since we did our first idol debut. We're gaining slow popularity doing YouTube videos. And so that's all set up. So where we left off last season with the idol show, and then now this one, we got to see, okay, Ruby's making some slow progression there. Then we got to see the play happening, and then now we're getting the build up to the play. And we're going to be introduced to these side characters. I don't know their names yet, so bear with me. I think one of the names is Raida, the dude with like the half and half MySpace hair. It reminds me of 2009. But I think his name's Raida or something like that. And, there's a bunch of other characters that we got introduced to who are going to be part of this play. So we know that they're setting up this thing. It set up the director, who is in Aqua's eye, a person that for investigation. It set up that Akane is falling even deeper in love with Aqua, but she's very worried because Aqua tends to have his eye on Kana. And she's trying to figure out how to change herself to be more I, as she did last season. And then for Kana, she's adjusting to becoming less in the spotlight and more molding to her surroundings and stuff. So it set up a lot of cool things that are going to come. It just, for me, didn't nail the execution and didn't really come out the gate, like I would have imagined. So that's my time. I think this episode was a nice 6.5, 7 out of 10, something like that. It was an okay start. I will tell you, if I get 3 episodes deep and the level of excitement in, you know, or like my emotional, entertaining connection with the show, if it hasn't increased, this might be one that I just say, hey guys, you know what? I'm gonna pause. And I wish you guys the best for the rest of the season. And next episode might come out. It might be freaking badass. We'll see what ends up happening. Regardless, thank you guys for being here. Light me up in the comments, and I'll see you guys next week. Peace out.